Hello and welcome to Backstage Chatter, a Segal Center podcast. I'm Gabriella Saltiel, Artistic and Executive Associate and producer of BSC. Sound editing is by Daniel Moskovich. In this special bonus episode, we dive into the vibrant world of Max and Erin Write a Musical. It's a joyful, queer rom-com about two childhood friends and creative partners trying to finish a musical loosely based on their lives in a single day, while their own story takes an unexpected turn. Joining us are creator and director Trevor Barrette, along with Émile Auger and Nathaniel Bacon, who play the characters of Max and Jessie. Our podcast is hosted by the incredible Sarah Deshaies.
Welcome to Backstage Chatter. I'm your host, Sarah Deshaies. Today we're going to be diving into the story and process behind the new play that is about the art of creating a new play. In Max and Erin Write a Musical, we follow a pair of creative collaborators in Montreal as they work against deadline to craft a new work. It happens to be loosely based on Max and Erin's own lives. After all, young creators are told, write what you know. While they are longtime friends, there are unspoken feelings and underlying tensions bubbling to the surface. As Max and Erin toil on phrasing and musical notes, we get to see their avatars, Jessie and Mason, come to life. Max and Erin Write a Musical takes the audience on a journey of creation, friendship, and love. The story was initially commissioned as a concert event for the Next Wave Festival back in 2016. In early 2023, the Segal hosted a magical workshop presentation of the work. The Segal is now getting ready for the world premiere of the musical this month. It was developed in collaboration with Playwrights Workshop Montreal and is presented as part of Fierté Montréal's programming. Today, we will look at the years of work behind this very Montreal and very queer love story. Our guest today, first up, Trevor Barrette, the man behind all of this. He wrote the book, music, and lyrics for the show and is co-producing it with Jonathan Patterson, who performed in the original concert event way back when. Trevor is a queer theater maker based in Montreal. His passion for the art was kindled when he was a young drama student at the Sadie Brofman Center. At the Segal, he most recently directed the Yiddish language premiere of The Great Divide and The Sages of Helm. He was the stage manager for Our Little Secret and POTUS, fabulous shows, and has worked at the Centaur, Geordie Theater, and the National Arts Center. Trevor, welcome.
Thank you. Hello.
And congratulations.
Oh my gosh. Thanks again.
Émile Auger is playing the role of Erin, one half of the artistic duo at the center of the show. He is a multidisciplinary performer and teacher from Montreal. Émile studied musical theater at Collège Lionel Groulx and Sheridan College, and he is making his Segal Center debut. Welcome to you.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And finally, Nathaniel Bacon is performing the role of Jessie, one of the characters conjured by Max and Erin. He's an award-winning theater performer in Toronto and has worked in Canadian film and television, including appearances in Shadowhunters, Saving Hope, The Kids in the Hall, and Murdoch Mysteries. This is his Montreal debut. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
You're all looking fabulous. We're a couple of days away from opening as we sit. How is everyone feeling?
Great.
Good. If they're feeling good, I'm feeling good.
Okay, good. Yeah.
That's the most important.
I want to take you back, Trevor, because I was digging around in my email and I found a press notice for the first ever iteration of Max and Erin, the 2016 concert performance for the show. It was actually titled something else.
A song of fiction.
Yeah, and you were quoted, "I wanted to write a piece about what it takes to cope with reality and all the what-ifs that life brings."
Okay.
Do you remember saying that?
No, but it's still accurate.
Yeah.
That's still the show we're doing. That's great news. I was getting nervous there, being like, oh gosh, have I totally dropped the ball? But no, that's still the show.
Yeah, tell me more about that driving theme for you.
Yeah, I think as we're in rehearsal, I'm realizing there's a lot of nostalgia in the piece. There's a lot of looking back and imagining the future, which I think is what we do as creators and as artists. We pull from our experiences. I hope we imagine, brighter futures or a world that we want to live in. And yeah, that was a guiding principle in 2016. And through a lot of the work that I've done since then, I realized that I'm really interested in building community and seeing how our memories and legacies kind of affect our lives and our hopes. And yeah, I'm seeing that totally still come to life in this version of the show. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. How does it feel to be so many years down the line? Because I don't think we understand really how long it can take to develop something like this.
Yeah.
And to see it getting to this stage.
More mature. I'm older now. No. Yeah, it's been a journey. I mean, we one of the things that's not on the list because it never came to fruition, but we were going to be in the queer reading series in 2020. So I was in the room with Jonathan Patterson and Patrick Park, who plays Mason in the show, and was in our workshop back then as well. We were in rehearsal March 13th, 2020. So there are different moments where the show almost had a life, almost happened, and which is kind of funny thinking about the relationship of Max and Aaron in the show. There's this feeling of, something could have happened. So dealing with that, learning, growing every time. One thing that I found was really interesting is the characters had grown up with me. The very last one in 2023, we were working with Max and Aaron who were in their early 30s. And as I was working on the show and trying to understand and going through the casting process, I realized that the heart of the show really lives in these, early 20-year-olds and their sort of take on life and the work, and they're not kind of like burnt out by by what theater can do to a person. And it's really lovely to go back to the feelings and the energy and the life force that I had in 2016?
2016.
Yeah. So there's really a new breath that I found in the show and saying, yeah, I'm closer to age to some of the older characters in the show now than I am to the Max and Aaron. But it was really lovely to make that discovery, and I keep making these discoveries. And it's silly because I write the play, but every day in rehearsal I go, oh my gosh, did you guys know this? Did you guys pick this up? And they're like, yeah. And I'm late to the game.
It's a journey of discovery. I want to turn to you, Jonathan and Émile, just to talk about what Nathaniel and Émile, about your characters, so we can understand a bit more about what we're going to see. So, Émile, who are you playing, and what's going on in his life?
Oh, wow. I'm playing Aaron. And what's going on? I mean, Aaron has a lot going on when we start the show. He's an aspiring actor. His career is just starting. And it's going well. It's going well. And so and he still has that kind of writing passion that he brings on with Max. So, we see kind of those two poles together at the same time, and we see him trying to work on his professional career, solo career at the same time that he's trying to figure out stuff with Max as well. So,
and what is their story? Because at some point they're friends from childhood, right? Like, how far back does their relationship go? We learn more over the course of the show, but how would you describe that relationship?
It goes back to like musical theater camp, which happens way sooner. We talked about 10 years earlier or something like that.
Yeah, I think they meet maybe 8 years before the where we see them in the show.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's so that kind of builds. That's where the story really starts. So we had a lot of talks with Trevor as well, and sit downs of identifying everything that just happened before the show and trying to figure all of that and make it clear for us to make it clear for the audience as well, because there's so many. The backstory is so rich.
And they're also working under deadline, so there's pressure going on. We're kind of in real time almost watching them plug away. How does your character feel about deadlines and working under pressure?
He hates it. He needs his time. He needs his process. So that's what's one of the main thing when Max just drops the bomb. He hates it first of all, because and then he has to figure out things really quickly. And then we see how it unfolds and how it translates to their individual relationship and how they manage that together. But he hates it. He can't live with that.
Turning to you, Nathaniel, you have the pleasure, the fun of being this character that is kind of being conjured, brought to life on stage.
Yes.
And what is that like? Tell me about how you approach that character, what you're thinking about.
Jesse's a really fun character to play. He's kind of like a fun guy. He's sexy. He's a bit of a Lothario. but he's a little older than the other character. He's been around and he has a little bit more of a stable life. But I think part of what happens in the show is that he finds a bit of a spark of that excitement of youth that kind of reignites and brings him back to the feelings that he had maybe when things were a little more fun, a little more exciting, and he gets sort of entranced in that. And then at the same time, I'm also kind of an extension of the relationship that's going on between Max and Aaron. So there's a very fun sort of meta element to the show because our reality kind of shifts and bends as it has to around the minds of Max and Aaron. So it makes it really fun to play with. And I'm also still finding new things every day as we go along, new connections, things that Trevor put there that I just wasn't sharp enough to spot, or things that none of us have noticed because he's so brilliant. Sometimes he doesn't even know his own brilliance, and his subconscious will make little connections and things that we don't even see until later. So it's a really fun character to play with.
It's not really traditional. It's like it's not linear in the sense that we meet your characters and you fall in love after this night out and you're meeting this guy as you're saying your character's Lothario a little bit. We see you in fragments.
Yeah.
Is that hard?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very challenging to play because Max and Aaron's segment of the show is, as you say, like in order over the course of a day. But Mason's and mine are not. So one of the biggest challenges is having this sort of timeline in your head of where am I right now, and because they're piecing the story together. So that is one of the hardest parts of the role. As much fun as it is, it's a lot of work. Yeah.
I feel like you also got to kind of sweep in sometimes and just kind of like ignore what's happening there. Here's where I am, and you just get to drop in and then drop out again. Like you're kind of like a bit of a chaos agent.
Yeah, and that's a lot of fun, as it is in real life, right?
I want to turn back to the idea of write what you know. It's something that people hear about when they are coming up and when they are studying. I want to know were you told that? Do you resent that kind of advice, or is it a really good way to think about making art? Trevor, let's start with you.
It's a really great question, and I think it's a challenge in vulnerability. And I think that I've had a chance to work and write on a lot of shows that are that have a lot of fun, that are very bright and very vibrant, and this show is an exercise in vulnerability, and I think it's become more and more that since I wrote in 2016. There's a part of the story which is my coming out story, basically, that's in sort of the center of the show, and it's fun to see how the drafts have changed and how it's gone from like, oh, I can't tell that story. Oh no, okay, I'll tell a bit closer. And now it's like just what happened. And I'm like, oh, it actually works the best. So it's a really interesting part of going, do people want to know this? And I think the more specific you make something, the more universal it is. I think that's a really useful way of looking at it. And yeah, sharing really specific parts of my story. I mean, this isn't, Max and Aaron are definitely like splits of my brain. The two of them arguing is how I work by myself in my room. But there are a lot of personal elements in the story that I've peppered throughout that are so true to me and so very specific. And I think that just brightens and helps the show be what it is. And I think that's a big part of writing what you know is also knowing why you're writing this and where it comes from in you. And I think the show, it really has taken me those 9 years to finally go, okay, just tell the story. Just write the thing. Just do the stuff that you're interested in. And
instead of approaching it from like a sideways glance or kind of fudging the details.
Yeah. I mean, some details are fudged, and like so much of it is just made up too, right? Because I just love a meta theatrical romp. Like I love it, and that's not my life. But yeah, I think it was really important and fortifying for me too. Especially like now we're like with Fierté, there's a lot of like me building this queer space in our room, which is so beautiful and shockingly rare in theater. I mean, theater's really gay. So you kind of go, why is this so novel? Why does this feel so different? But yeah, writing what you know, and I'm also creating a space that I want to be more in and know more of. So that's all in one, I think.
Why do you think it feels so novel? Like you said, like it's a space where there are a lot of queer professionals and a queer-ish storyline. So why does Max and Aaron feel revolutionary to you?
Well, I had a really sad moment, I think, in rehearsal a few days ago when we were doing intimacy work with Cara Rebecca, who is fantastic, and I've loved working with her on several shows now, and is in Clue. That's just about to open. And we were working on a kiss between two characters, and I had a moment of going, I actually can't remember the last time I saw two male-presenting folks kiss on stage. And I'm like, wait a minute, that can't be true. And I was like going through my Rolodex and going like, okay, yes. I've seen it's funny and gay characters come in as a joke and the best friend. I'm like, it's still, I mean, all representation, like we'll take the gay best friend, like I'll take it. But it was shocking to me, like in that moment of going, I don't know when the last time I saw this was. I'm like, Tom at the farm at Buddy's maybe was the last time, and that was like a decade ago.
Yeah.
Which is nutty. And so that's one part of it. And then just being in like having a very queer team and I've sort of consolidated or concentrated the queer energy in our room, which has been lovely and really freeing, and a space that I didn't know that I needed.
A lot of emerging talent, too, on your team. I was looking through your cast and crew, and it seems like you've really rallied together a lot of people with fresh ideas, cutting their teeth, you'd say.
Yeah. And I work as a stage manager, too, and shout out to Ava Bishop and Abby Saney. Like, we have an amazing stage management team, and I know how difficult it is, and I know how hours can be tough. And so there's a lot that I'm doing administratively, too, to make just the process better for everyone involved. And I think we're achieving that. I mean, we're about to go into our really long tech days, so I just hope that we hold those values as we move forward. But it's a very unique experience, at least for me. I can't speak for anybody else, but I think that we're doing a good job at creating this space.
And I would also add to that. I would say it's a very unapologetically queer story. Still, I would say very accessible to an outside audience, but it feels very real to the queer experience. And throughout generations, like younger or older queers. And as a queer performer myself, I also very rarely get the opportunity to play something that's very layered and nuanced and has a lot of depth and feels very real and personal, because there is a lot of, oh yeah, there's gays everywhere on TV now. I'm like, yeah, I've played a lot of them, and they show up and have something funny to say, but the story's not about us a lot of the time, and this is. Mm-hmm. So it feels special to me, and I feel very lucky to be a part of this team of people putting together something that feels so authentic and important.
I like how you said unapologetically, too.
Yeah.
Like, we're not so burdened with shame. Like, there's more of an acceptance.
Yeah, I this is something I've discovered, too, is just I think a lot of queer storytelling ends with a message of, it gets better. Like, yes, there's a lot of trauma and tragedy, and we're still dealing with all that. And we walk away going like, oh, man, I'm rooting for you guys. But this show, we see them in a space where they can be better, where it's just good. Like, that's not what they're dealing with. They're dealing with deadlines. They're dealing with creative issues. They're dealing with love stories. But it doesn't follow the regular tropes that generate conflict in queer storytelling.
Yeah. Émile, did you want to add anything hearing this?
I just like the story is really, really fun to tell, and not really. I think it's just like, just playing Aaron is really the first time I get to like live a whole story from the beginning to end, and just living through that and like discovering things all the time is it's such a privilege, and to be surrounded by all this team and this queer community that I like it so much, and it's such a it's my first project in English as well.
Yeah.
In Montreal, so it's like, for me, it's eye-opening in a lot of ways.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Trevor, what is it about the writing process you wanted the audience to see? Because it's like not something that I don't think is often depicted, because it sounds like a lot of hard work. Mm-hmm. And so what is the fun there that you wanted to reveal?
Yeah, I think I'll talk about something that we did in rehearsal just last week. So there are two stories happening simultaneously. There's Max and Aaron write a musical, that's their story, and then Mason and Jesse, the characters that they're creating. So the other day we had just Émile and Rylan, who play our Max and Aaron, run the whole show without Mason and Jesse. So whenever they wrote a scene, they were the ones performing them. Whenever there was a song, they were the ones singing
with that,
them.
Nathaniel?
I wasn't allowed to know anything about it, actually.
Yeah, we kicked them out of the room. These two came up with, like, they have voices now for these characters.
Which I'm not allowed to hear.
You're not allowed to hear. They're pretty awful. But we had a chance to see what it was like for these two to actually write the whole show almost in real time. And it was fun. I think that's the thing. It was fun and it was joyful. And I want people to leave the show going, oh, I've had this idea for a while. Maybe I'll just write this little poem, or maybe I'll just write this little story, or maybe I'll doodle, or whatever. And it's about, for me, it's about inspiring and getting audiences excited about telling their own stories, whether that's in their personal life or in the creative sphere that maybe they don't have access to or they don't know how to start. And it's just like, well, if these guys can do it, you can grab up a pen and paper and get something written down. So I think that's part of the celebration. And I think we're at a time where there are budget cuts. Funding is really scarce. I mean, we got 10% of the public funding we went for, nothing federal, nothing provincial. We've got amazing support from our partners and the Conseil des Arts de Montréal and Fondation du Grand Montréal. But we're relying on our community with in-kind support. We've received amazing donations. And I think that this show looks at the joy that theater can bring to people's lives from the inside and hopefully from the outside too. And that, I think, is pivotal for me in what I want to do for our community.
Going back to the process, I just wanted to know what it's like for you when you're sitting down and writing a musical.
Well, come see Max and Aaron, right? It's that.
It's that?
It's that. It's the two of them. I think that Max, our pianist, is an agent of chaos and is goofy and unfocused. And, I mean, he plays piano so much better than I could ever imagine, which is lovely to have these writers be so much more talented than me. And Aaron is the logistics and let's stay on track. I'm going to keep the story going, structure. And I actually started writing this show for Mason and Jesse. I was writing their story and going, I think the fight that I'm having in my head is equally interesting to what the narrative is. And so that's kind of how it's sort of split focus. But yeah, I have friends who come see the workshop or came to like a run the other day. Like, this is just watching your brain work. And it's so true. And it's very telling about my own process and the arguments I have in my head.
When you're writing, do you need complete silence? Is there like a pot of coffee? Like, what's happening?
Coffee for sure. It so changes. I do like my Colin Stenson instrumental stuff, but I'm not a dubstep guy at all. But when I really need to focus, it's just like blah, 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 and I'm just writing my little gay stories with like just really intense music and it just zones the world out. I often have a cat on me too.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
What does your cat look like?
So I've got two black cats, Samuel Ricardo, Price Barrette, and Jasperina Philomena, Price Barrette.
I thought the first name was just the two names.
No.
Okay, that's a separate name.
Yeah.
And then, okay.
Yeah. And they're great, and they're very cuddly exactly when I need them not to be cuddly.
Oh.
But that's cats.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
You guys are performers. Did you feel like you learned anything about the writing process, the development? Was it something you already knew about, or like have you learned anything about like the kind of bread and butter of the show?
It feels like a window into Trevor's mind.
Yeah,
but also into the
privileged.
creative process because I'm not a writer of shows. I come from a performer's perspective. I write songs. But not the. So I feel like I have learned more about the process of how others write shows from within, in a very interesting, complex, and very funny way.
Do you have more respect for the art maybe now or less?
I already had a lot, and yes, I do have more now.
There are definitely moments where I'm in the room and going like, well, there they go. They lost all respect for me.
Impossible.
But and on my part, like I've taken a couple of writing classes at NTS, and I like doing it, and I think seeing Trevor do it kind of allows me to be like, oh, I can be messy, and it still can be good at the end, because it's like it's fun. It's like And when I started writing, I was writing what I knew. And then I started to be like, okay, let's try to write something I don't know and what it brings. And then seeing Trevor do that work as well, I'm like, oh, okay, I can write what I know as well. I can do both, and it's okay. It doesn't have to be something that's so far from me.
There's a lot of play.
There's a lot of
involved in the
play.
show. It's very fun,
Yeah.
like creative in a joyful way, like you said.
It is like a little bit of a masterclass in a lot of things: writing, acting, producing, directing. I'm like,
Peek behind the curtain.
Yes,
Yeah.
really.
Are you surprised to know that people are curious about what the process is like?
Well, I hope.
Yeah?
The whole show stands on that. Yeah, and I think it's you can start anywhere, and I think what's important too. I mean, we do this professionally, but you don't have to. Like, you can just go and be creative. Like, I think that's one of the biggest disservices in like our society, where they go, okay, great, arts and crafts was fun, and now we're gonna learn something real. And it's like, you can just keep doing that. I think we have an impulse to go, if I'm not perfect at it, or if I can't make money off of it, I'm not going to invest in it. But I think you learn so much about yourself when you invest just your time in the arts. I mean, there's so much on YouTube. There's so much that you can have access to for free in terms of how to get started or what you might be interested in. So I think that this is an invitation for people to create a bit.
Were there any guiding lights for you in terms of musicals that were already out there, or maybe queer content that you were using as a guiding light as you were shaping this?
Yeah. Yes, for sure. I mean, I think that there are tropes and conventions from like golden age musicals that really are useful to us. We have a dream ballet in our show. It pays tribute to a lot of musical theater things that are in the canon, you know? There's tons of references. I'm going to make a little drinking game for the bar. If you can like take a shot every time you hear this line, or you hear
won't make it out of the show.
Yeah, you won't. No. It's and they're hidden all over the place. Okay. So I think that it's really infused with my love for musical theater, my love for the work we do in Montreal. I mean, I think that's all really important. Specifically, I mean, there are tons of meta-theatrical musicals, right, that talk about the creation of theater. I think what's really fun about ours is that the musical within a musical is really just a vehicle for these two guys to connect. It's the only way they know how to connect is through their storytelling. So looking at how, there's Kiss Me Kate, there's Title of Show, there's all these pieces that I've listened to and studied a little bit and go, how is ours different? And how is ours unique in this world of musicals within musicals?
Turning to you guys, were there any other touchstones or things that you were thinking about as you were getting into character, reading through the script, points that you were picking up, or you thinking to existing musicals or stories?
I tried to see it more as a unique thing on its own, because without being the creator myself, I didn't want to project the wrong kind of vibe onto it or bring something that wasn't exactly it. So I just tried to bring something out of myself authentically, and then try to figure out through time with our direction and everything what Trevor really wanted out of it. You mentioned the other day it's a little bit La La Land meets Queer as Folk, and I think that's
so true.
Very apt.
Yeah.
And then ever since you said that, I was like, yes, tonally, that's guided me a little bit since then.
And there are definitely moments that are more Queer as Folk and moments that are more La La Land.
Yes, there's a swing.
We do have a range. Yeah.
So kind of like we've got this beautiful Hollywood homage musical, and then we have more of a campy queer vibe.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is fun.
Yeah.
It's a nice
And how does that work?
amalgamation.
How do we match those two together to make something that's coherent? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking of the Dream Ballet sequence that you were referencing, and like what's more kind of La La Land or An American in Paris than that.
Yeah. But it happens on the rooftop of a gay club. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where we
Yeah.
spin it. And we
Yeah.
start spinning it a bit. Yeah. Because they didn't want the characters all grinding up on each other, is what they say in the show.
No.
So we give them a nice rooftop ballet.
It's classy.
It's
Yeah.
classy.
Yeah.
It's classy.
What-
But then
what-
the moves are a little dirty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Émile, were there any touchstones for you that you were thinking of or looking for?
Well, we had a couple chats before starting rehearsal on like where where does everything happen and when and how and all those technical stuff that I talked about earlier. But it's so nice to do a musical that is set in Montreal.
Yeah.
Like a musical than actual like real with a good musical. Like it's like a difference between, you know what I mean? And it's so it's fun to have all of those, like I have connection points that I'm going off of, and
in the real world.
In the real world, like Aaron lives pretty much in Émile's house, and Émile's so it's like there's a lot of connections, and it's also a first for me to do like an intimate musical, if we can call it this way, and which is only 4 people. And you can't hide. You can't really hide, and you can't really just not do the work, or you know what I mean. You can't half-ass it.
No. Not that you would ever do that.
Not I would ever do that. People out there just don't think that I. But it's still like it brings in a whole other level of implication for me.
It's true. There's nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
No.
Like you're all out there.
Yeah.
If one person doesn't sing, you notice.
Yeah. Or if you're not in it.
Yeah.
So it's it requires a lot more kind of actory attention.
Yeah. Intimate's a good word. It's a big little show.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a big little show. Sometimes it's a little big show, and it really is fun to figure out where we are at any given moment.
Yeah.
Let's pick up on the Montreal part. You said it in your home, like where you live. We talk about write what you know. Was there ever a thought of maybe I should set this in like New York? It's more relatable, or maybe not even name the town. So why is it in Montreal?
It was also me. I had just done a year at U of T and was like sick of Toronto, and then like ran back to Montreal. And so I think this was me being like, oh God, I'm home. So I think that was part of it. Toronto's great.
I said nothing.
Toronto's amazing.
It just wasn't for me. And I think having that experience really set my work and my intentions of working and building something here in Montreal that I'm really grateful to be able to do in English in Montreal. But yeah, in the show, we go to the Old Port, we go to the Village. There's a whole number called In the Old West Island when our little ingenue travels from the West Island to the big city. And it's very tongue-in-cheek, and I think I really enjoy it. I think it's fun. It feels lived in, and it doesn't feel put on. I think it's born out of Montreal. Montreal's not a location that's slapped onto it. And thank you, Émile Auger, for being a bilingual actor, because we've had a chance to add a whole new element. I mean, we're talking about how this play is different from what it was in 2023, but our Aaron is bilingual and speaks French throughout the show, which is really fantastic. David Noel, who played our original Aaron in 2016, came back to translate, and he translated the whole script for surtitles. There's a lot of information I'm throwing at you right now, but yeah, we have French and English surtitles for every performance, and this guy, Émile Auger, is speaking French throughout the show as a francophone would, I think, in a bilingual sitting when he gets upset, when he has big feelings.
It's really relatable. It's really relatable.
When he's by himself.
Yeah.
Tell me about asking David Noel to do the translation, because as you said, he was in the original production, and you guys stayed in touch. You wanted him to kind of he was the right person to do this.
Yeah. No, we're really good friends, and we've continued to work together, and I mean, he's on all these big French TV shows. He has a little, he's a celebrity here in Quebec, and it was lovely for him to come back to this show with us, and he's done an amazing job finding the voice for the show in French, and especially for Aaron, who he played. So he knows from the inside what the character is going through. So a really interesting collaboration and beautiful collaboration. And I'll just shout out to, we've been workshopping the show since then. So there are dozens and dozens of actors who have been through this show. And I'm so grateful for all the experience and ideas, and I didn't like that, I didn't like this, I love this, that really helped shape the show.
Do people really tell you what they don't like?
Okay, so I don't know, and I don't think so, and I'm not a fan of people not telling me that, what they don't like, and what I've done today, they don't know yet, but I've made little questionnaire. We have a run today. So I have little questionnaires of what bit do you want me to just fix? What moment are you most concerned? As we're going into Tech Week, I think it's an opportunity where people go, where people get anxious and people get nervous and people don't know how to use their voice anymore, and just tension rises when you know that we're moving into the space. So I'm actively saying, hey, it's anonymous. I don't need to know who's writing this. I just need to know what your feeling is. Because as a director, I don't want the audience, our first audience, like our preview audience, to be the first people who get to say, what was that about? Maybe everybody just absolutely loves my show, which would be great too. But I'm like,
It's very possible.
It's very possible, you know. But just tell me what's not working and let me see if I agree, and that'll make my show go, oh, you're right, that doesn't work. Or actually, I really think it does work, and this is where I can say as an artist, this is what it is, and for whatever reason. But it allows me to commit to the show in a different way once I can filter through the yays and the nays of the production. So I think it's so important.
Is there going to be like an office suggestion box, and people are going to be writing and folding and putting it in?
Oh, yeah. I sent our ASM to print it off. I'm going to cut them up, and everybody's going to have these little handouts.
You're not going to be looking at the handwriting too closely because it's not a huge...
That's the thing.
Yeah, it's not a...
I have a fingerprint test kit at home. I'm just going to... No. But it's really... I think that as a community, we're all very polite here in Montreal. We don't have tons of theaters in our city, and I think we have a very good job we do a good job at patting each other on the back. And I think I'm ready for a bit more of critical thinking around the work that we do.
Nathaniel and Émile, is that new to you? Is that usually part of the process? You're going into a tech run and then you're going to be able to tell the director directly what you think.
That never happens.
No,
but it
never.
does not actually surprise me with Trevor, because Trevor's really collaborative and open. And I actually do feel comfortable telling you anything I don't understand or that doesn't connect with me. I wouldn't phrase it like, this sucks, I don't like this or something.
I also don't want that kind of feedback. This sucks.
But I don't
sandwich.
have any of those. I don't have any of those thoughts, thankfully. But if there's anything where I'm confused or I go like, is this a reference I don't understand or something? Or like, is this, like it's possible. Like we don't catch everything in a script. Nobody understands everything about a script. No one, no matter how smart you are. So I don't feel at all nervous about asking you anything or saying, I don't get this. He fosters a very collaborative, like warm, welcoming environment. So I feel like I've never had the opportunity in a show to be so collaborative with someone. So he's very special in that way that he keeps steering the ship, and there's a very clear direction, but also very, very open. So it's a nice, warm place to be.
Yeah. I was laughing because there's a lot of references in the show of like, this scene happens this, and then you're thinking Aaron thinks of that scene here, and then he writes it later in the show. So sometimes Trevor looks at me like, did you get it? Or look,
he goes,
do you get it in the moment? And I'm like, yeah.
I'm like, your face is bluffing.
Yeah.
And he takes like 5 minutes to explain it, and like, thank you, because I was not getting it at all. No, but but for the record, Trevor does ask a lot of questions in rehearsal and be like, is that weird, or should we just take it off or take it out or whatever, and then we'll all be at yes or no. So we've done group work before, so it's like, and going back to the French part, it's this first time I get to suggest like where parts should be in French and not, and as a bilingual person, like, I feel like this wouldn't make sense to be spoken in English. So all of that makes it super inviting to kind of create a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever put things to a vote before, but I do in this rehearsal space, being like, this line or this line, yay or nay.
Yeah,
and we didn't. And everyone goes like, nah, and I'm like, okay, it's out.
And why does that work here? Is it because it's a show about writing and collaboration?
Maybe. I mean, I think it's just the kind of process that I want to make. I mean, as producer of the show too, I put the team together. I put all these pieces together, and I'm going, okay, let's try this. What does it look like if it's? I definitely have a vision for the show. We need to get somewhere, right? But I think that the spaces that I want to be in are collaborative, where stage management and the cast and our interns that show up and the folks that are just passing by in the room being like, did this work for you? What do you think? It didn't quite make sense. Okay, great. Now I know. And it's just something I've wanted to try. Like this questionnaire I'm going to give everybody. I don't know if they're going to like it. But I just want to try it. Like, I have this opportunity. I've made this space. Let me experiment and say, at least I did that. Like French and English subtitles for every show. I think that's a bit of a move. and then we can see if it works or it didn't work, or what people's response was. And it's like a gamble that I'm taking, but it's a creative gamble, and I think it's going to be awesome for our audience. But in 2 years, I might go, oh, let's do French and English show titles. Oh, Trevor did that. I wonder if did it work or not. I think we need to work together in that regard.
I want to pick at just one loose thread before I move on to our wrap-up questions, and that is for you, Nathaniel, because we're talking about how it's a place set in Montreal. You're from Toronto, and that's okay.
There's a lot of that here.
It's fine.
But for you, coming from the center of Canada, but coming here and being in this very Montreal play, what's that perspective been like for you? Have you learned something new?
No pressure. No, it's really been amazing because I have virtually no experience here at all. I'd only been here.
It's your debut in the city.
It is my debut here. And even in terms of visiting here, I'd only been here once before I came here for the callbacks. So we did initial auditions and I had to come to Montreal to do the callbacks before we were cast. And I didn't even know where I was. I had my mom drive me in, drive me to the theater. I was like, are you sure this is the building? I have no idea where I am.
What's her name?
Brenda.
Thank you, Brenda. Yeah.
Thanks, Mom. No, it's been a great experience, and they've been really warm and welcoming. I've had people take me around. The first day we got here, Trevor drove and picked Rylan and I up from the station and literally drove us around, showed us the place, and took us to our places we were staying. So he's been very, very hands-on, and everyone's been really nice and welcoming, so I'm having a great time here.
That's beautiful. Yeah. It's Pride Month. We know we also celebrate Pride later in the summer here in Montreal and Quebec. So it's a time of celebration, but there's also a lot of concerns and fear about what it is to live openly. People's attitudes are changing in a direction we don't like so much. And so to have this show come out now, thoughts about that, Trevor?
Yeah, so I've got my little summer season that I'm calling Gays for Days. So I've got Max and I Write a Musical, and then Bed and Breakfast, presented by the Hudson Village Theatre, which I'm very excited about.
Which is about a gay male couple moving to a small town.
Yeah, so sort of the opposite of our story, where it's like small town to big town, we're going big town to small town. And things feel more political. I mean, theater, I think, is political, and art is political. I think it's impossible to divorce that element from it. But yeah, I didn't know. Nobody can predict anything, right? So when everything's going on, I'm saying I think that this show is really important, and more important than maybe it was 6 months ago, right? So I hope that people come see this show who aren't in the queer community. I hope that the gays come out and see it and love it. But I think it's an opportunity to just see gay people live their lives, and it's not about their queerness. It's about them navigating the world as queer people, and their relationships are just as complicated, and their careers are just as complicated and messy. And I hope that it's eye-opening for people to just walk out and go, oh yeah, that's right. They're all gay. And I think that for some people that's really important. And I know there's been, I was at a queer reading series like a few years ago, and we were talking about like mainstream queerness, which is a whole thing I'm not going to get into. But I think that our play does something important will do something important for a lot of audience members, as like a gateway piece to just an opportunity to see 4 queer characters on stage living their lives together, which might be very new to people. And I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Nathaniel, sorry.
You look like a Jonathan.
Thinking of Jonathan Patterson.
I think it's, it is a complex time, obviously, in modern history. And I think it feels like the perfect time to be doing a show like this, where we can just unapologetically, again, play these people just being themselves in a story that's more about just human beings finding their way and their dreams and exploring their passions in a really relatable way that explores like the joys and the sadness of everything, the sort of sliding doors elements of missed opportunities and what you can and can't have in a way that's really, really accessible. And I think it's important that these are queer characters, but the stories are relatable to everyone. And I think that's the kind of representation we need right now, because there's so much othering and so much labeling going on, and people are in this mindset where everything's like a team mentality. It's an us versus them thing. And that's not what life is, right? Like, we're all just people floating around on a rock trying to make sense of things. And this feels like a nice showcase of like 4 kind of beautiful souls trying to work through it.
And I think too, there are elements of coming out stories in our piece, but we see people like post that moment in a sort of it gets better moment.
Emile?
I mean, yes, like bouncing off all of that, just the floating rock is just to make like feel like it's such an inviting thing, and like Trevor said, like we want people to get out of there and be like, oh, that's it. You know what I mean? I mean, no, it's like that's simple. Like that. And I've never seen. I don't think like a queer musical before in Montreal. I mean, like, I'm new to this again. Like, I'm new to musicals in general. I mean, I've only been in that world for a couple of years, but still, it's. I mean, I'm inviting so many non-queer people, and it's like, you know, of all ages, and I think it's nice to just be like, just a little bit of an eye-opening for some people.
Yeah.
I want to leave it with you, Trevor.
Okay.
You're about to open. This is a germ of an idea that started about almost 10 years ago now, and now you're getting the world premiere. But where does it go next? What is your big hope and dream for Max and Aaron Write a Musical?
I don't know. I think it's been such a long time getting to this point. Hey, if you're out there and you want to produce this show, I think every city has a smaller city and a bigger. I'm looking right at camera. Come produce my show. I do think that this show can be translated to different parts of Canada, you know. But for me, I'm so excited. I think I had this moment yesterday where I was going, I can't wait to give this show to the cast and to the stage managers and to the audience and to leave it with them. And we're so ready for that moment. I mean, we still have another week. Give us another week, but
we need it. Please. We'll take it.
But there's like a passing of the torch where the show is so much bigger than me, and then what I could have made it just writing it in my own little room. So it's all worth it to pass that on to the people who are actually going to do the show. Because I'm done. I'm going to be done next Monday. I'll be done the show, and then it's theirs. And I think that's so exciting for me and really warm and beautiful.
Well, we're going to let you guys get back to work because there's the suggestion box and the tech run waiting for you.
Yes.
But thank you so much, Trevor Barrette, Émile Auger, and Nathaniel Bacon. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks to the team at the Segal Center for bringing us together today. Thank you so much for joining us. Max and Aaron Write a Musical is making its world premiere at the Segal Center, running until June 22nd. Maybe you can see it somewhere else after that. Get your tickets at segalcenter.org, 514-739-7944.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Backstage Chatter. Our Clue on Stage episode will be coming out later this month. Until then, may your plot twists be fabulous, your harmonies tight, and your deadlines purely fictional.